All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Turner's Outdoorsman podcast. We have a very special guest we've been waiting quite a while for, and it is none other than Nick Roberts from Staccato.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming in today, Nick.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Of course, Gunner's here as usual.
Yep.
This has been a big one. We've been kind of getting ready. You guys are just dropping guns on the list like nobody's business, so it's super exciting to see. We got, 3 models now?
3.
So we're going to go over those in detail today and talk a little bit about the history of the brand and probably a little bit about the history of the brand and Turner's and what we've seen, because it's kind of new for us, with companies like Glock and Ruger and SIG and Smith. I mean, we've been dealing with these guys for decades practically. So
Great companies.
Some of them longer. So it's hard to, we're new, right? We've just met in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So I remember going to SHOT Show probably 4 years ago and walking down the aisle and seeing this massive crowd. And I tell the new guys going to SHOT Show, like, watch for that buzz, because that buzz is going to translate it in onto the consumer side. And I remember seeing all these people, and I'm going, what in the heck is going on there? And I fight my way up to the booth, and it was the Staccato booth, right?
There you go. Thank you.
So it's pretty neat to see. And we talked to the guys in, and they were kind of weird about, I don't think you guys could even make enough guns, much less even, consider California at the time. We had micro stamping. It wasn't really an option. So we were limited to what we can do. And then I think the next year we actually saw some light at the end of the tunnel where we could actually put a gun on the roster with micro stamping gone, and we started the conversation then. But how did you get involved? Tell everyone what's your position at Staccato and your background a little bit.
A little bit about myself. I'm from California, so this place is, you guys are not too far from me, so that's a good thing. But, I was in the military, I was in the Marine Corps. After that, I got out of the Marine Corps. I was in 2001 to 2007. Did a lot of things while I was in the Marine Corps, got out, did law enforcement. So I was a police officer, deputy sheriff first, worked for Riverside County, and then went over to work for City of Chino. Both great departments to work for. So anybody out there that's, looking to get into law enforcement in general, both great agencies to work for. Did some things with both of those agencies, got a lot of experience out of that. But while I was working at the City of Chino in the training unit, I met a gentleman by the name of Buck Pearson, who was a salesman for STI at the time. And so we organized some range time with some of the surrounding agencies and some of the people that I knew that I can get together. Some dealers came by. So we shot on the range for a while and then just developed a relationship over the years and talked to him. And he started asking me to come to some other events and helping out agencies get inside of these guns. And then we kind of, the change happened from STI to Staccato. And then, the name started growing. I was already carrying these things when he met. But, just education for the law enforcement agencies, procurement, training, because back then, 2017, 2018, there wasn't a lot of red dots out there, not a lot of single action. Everything was striker fire gun mostly. And so kind of re-educating the industry in terms of how this gun was Staccato 415 or the P now. It was the Staccato P. And then that came out and, kind of just reinvigorated the hammer-fired weapon systems for what we have. And then a few years ago, asked me to come over full time, and now I am director of consumer sales. So I work in field operations. So my team manages our whole dealer network, and I am pleased to say that I represent you guys, Turners, and you guys are one of the accounts that I hold, and I only hold a few accounts, and the relationship has been great ever since.
It's been great.
We've been connected. So I appreciate that, but that's a little bit of background from me. Yeah.
Cool. So what do you think it is, being coming from that side? But what do you think it is that draws the department level use in Staccato? Like, it's usually in the old days they'd buy cheap good guns, right? You'd see them buy a lot of like Glocks or Beretta 92s was the big military thing, and then they went LAPD, LA County Sheriff, and like that 92's been standardized, right?
Cool gun too.
What made them really, do you think, be so open minded to jump into? Is it the officers and guys out there involved, or what? I mean, I see them all the time now, and cops holsters all around.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how it went, and it's just really awesome to be involved in it. But what I'll say is, usually these things kind of start with the crux of these I call us gear nerds. I'm part of that, right? Is the people that are always pushing the envelope. I think law enforcement in general, with training and procurement and items in general, is behind the power curve as it relates to the outside and industry in general. And so some of these individuals are at the kind of the pinpoint of these things, and usually SWAT teams, elite teams, SWAT teams. Military units, all these people that, in general, the consumer would ask, hey, I'm going to buy a gun, or I need a gun. What gun should I look to? Who do you usually ask? And it's usually those people that know guns, that have guns, that carry guns. And a lot of those people are law enforcement officers or SWAT team guys or what have you, right? And so those types of individuals want the best tool for what they do, right? And so, as a department looking at financial aspects of things, that's a thing, right? This is how you make decisions on what goes into the holster, what kind of holster, and all these. It kind of all falls around dollars and budgets. But once you get to this elite level of policing or hostage rescue, what have you, some of these events that come up that are larger in scale, that it needs that as much tailored to the perfection of the event as possible. You kind of scrutinize every object that you're using, that you're wearing, that you're taking into these things. And then obviously the history of our military using and increasing in quality of the components that you use, going from the M16 to M4s and optics and all these things, right? You're trying to get better and equip these people with better items. Then these SWAT teams just do the same kind of thing. And so getting the popularity with them and them understanding, hey, these guns are reliable, they're built as a tool, and they're massively accurate, and they make you a better shooter when you shoot them. I think all of us have shot these. So you just know once you get behind these guns and you start shooting them, I'm an instantly better shooter, regardless of what I was using prior to. And that goes with a lot of guns, but with ours specifically, made in the USA, and our steel and everything that's sourced in the USA. So this item, start to finish, is made by Americans, and so you're really supporting America when it comes to these kinds of guns. And so having that with the accuracy and reliability of these guns kind of just trickles down, right? And so these people that are just a cop that wants to do well, they understand, hey, my life might be on the line one of these times. What do I want to have in my holster? Do I want to have something that I'm familiar with, or something that's going to make me better in that situation? Because we don't rise to the occasion. We always fall down to the level of training that we have. And so, again, the less data and input, I'd like to say, that you have to put into the firearm that you have, the better you are when the time comes that you have to use that, right? And so if you know that you're shooting these things, and you don't have to think about it as much on what I'm doing, how I'm doing, where this is lined up, where that's lined up, then you just inherently become a better shooter. And once people start expressing that to each other, then I think that's where our popularity started growing, and then people getting behind. And then truly the experience is shooting these guns. So I can explain to you guys and I guess pitch or sell these guns to anybody, but the real difference is once these people start shooting these guns, they understand why they are what they are. And so it's just been a cool ride ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I grew up in a law enforcement family, so first off, appreciate everything you did.
Yeah,
I mean, that's awesome. It's really cool to see that you've lived it, and also now you're applying it too, but just from a different aspect. So what I'm looking at right here, we have a lot of Trigicon. Is that what you see as well for the law enforcement when they're obviously not the SRO, but more the RMR HDs? Is that what you're seeing for a lot of the law enforcement out here in California?
Trigicon's a great partner, and everybody over at Trigicon's like great people, first of all, and then they make an awesome product. Not only is it good enough for the military, but it's good enough for law enforcement officers and all that. And again, optics in itself, there's so many to choose from. It's what do you want to choose? What's your budget? What do you expect out of this gun? What is it used for? There's so many different variables that come into this. I've always used some sort of Trigicon product, just because the durability of it, again, made in the USA product, all these things to me, at my core, I want to support in the US, right? Go buy local things, go to your local stores, as opposed to trying to get things, and especially on a tool. And I kind of use that as how I relate to these firearms. Is it's a tool, right? Hammer's a hammer, but there's a reason why your mechanic uses a different wrench than probably you and I use in our garage, right? Because they know that that's the quality that they want. And so Trigicon's no different. Not only are they making great products out there, but the durability of these things, if you've seen, from the progression of the Type 1 RMR to the Type 2, then now the HDs, the SROs even, just very durable, rugged products. And I can't speak highly enough about them. And the people, again, are just fantastic. So we're super excited and positive about that relationship. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, Trigicon's been great to work with. We've been doing a lot more social media push with them as well, like on all of our socials. But I mean, I think when you pair these all together, I mean, we've showed some stuff on Instagram, like, hey, this is the new gun. Let's do a whole setup. I mean, it's always Trigicon with the Staccato. So
yeah,
it's been very cool to see. And obviously, a lot of the social media stuff that you see too, your guys' marketing team is great. It's always paired up with the Trigicon too. So
yeah, Trigicon marketing guys are good dudes.
Yeah.
So let's get into the product a little bit. Being that they're new to us, like we talked about, we've been around a lot of the other brands a long time. And we, here in California, we always chase the 2011. And you guys really are the 2011, right? I think everyone else is just kind of throwing that name around, but you guys pretty much own that.
We literally own that. Yeah.
So
I always challenge people to say, what's stamped on the side of our gun? And it is 2011. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's a kind of mic drop after that, right? But let's talk about the history of where the guns were, like with the XCs, what you saw originally a lot of departments carrying, and the features, and then what you see going into the new, like the P4, which was the first gun. The HD P4 was the first gun here in California. And one of the questions I had when you were talking about training and introducing guns in law enforcement, some of the features that 2011s have and what their history is compared to the old striker fire guys, was it a pretty radical learning curve for those guys that get used to going to a thumb safety and grip safety style guns and things like that?
Yeah, and it truly depends on not only the capabilities level of that person that you're teaching, because again, responsible gun ownership is very important, right? Regardless of if you own a Staccato or a Glock or a Smith, anything like that, right? We want you to be happy with anything you purchase, and the gun community to us is always great. And so I encourage anybody to, if they can't afford a Staccato for whatever reason, just get something and just do well with that. Practice with that. Get good at that. These are important things, and they shouldn't be taken lightly. Of a barbecue gun and just getting something because it's pretty or something like that. I mean, we have those as well, but at the same time, these are built as tools, right? And they're hard use. I've beaten up plenty of them and tried it out, but it kind of went. So STI in general was more I guess like a shooter's gun, right? And so that was
like a competition 3-gun type
correct.
gun.
Yeah. And if you look at some of the older models that they make, we made a lot of different calibers and a lot of different types of guns with comps and ports and this and that. And although those guns were great at that time, that's, the innovation part. Before those were created, everybody was complaining because there was nothing of that. And then you create that, and then we inherently change that from STI to Staccato and go more towards black guns for duty, and then add in the competition as well. You'll have the people that liked everything before, and so when you're moving people's cheese a little bit, it gets a little bit. You see some cranky people out there because they always think the old thing was the better thing. But I can assure you that the old thing is still great. And if anybody out there is listening, they still have an STI. It's still 100% warranty coverage. So if their guns have any issues, they're more than welcome to send them in if they have issues. But hopefully they don't, by the way. But moving into this, it is a little bit different for people depending on what it is. I like to kind of if somebody's kind of questioning that transition from a striker to a single action only type of gun, in our case, that if they shoot a rifle and they're used to the manipulation of a safety for like an M4 or M16 or something like that, it's very similar to that, right? And the gun's down, the gun's up, and as the gun comes up, you're getting that rifle off safe. Same as you would do with the pistol. And so transitioning, we kind of ran into we call these V2 guns or legacy guns, something that would be more of a traditional 2011 that people would be familiar with, the 2011 style mags, the internal extractor, kind of like a 1911. It's kind of like a hybrid 1911 frame style slide. And then you have the 2011 mag and grip. That's really the change so that you can get that 9mm in there. Now, that has limitations, and part of the limitations would be the magazine, right? Not only is it a little bit cost prohibitive, but they're metal mags. They're maybe they're reliable. They're built for 9mm/38 Super, and so you have some of these things where we can engineer everything around that to be massively reliable, and I feel like we did. And then what, right? So part of what we're about is always forward, right? That's part of our ethos. And then what's next? If we just stayed here in this space and just waited for everybody to catch up, how does that make us different? And it doesn't. So the question is, okay, so how do we make things better? And, the answer was we listen to people, right? You get all these law enforcement officers, and you get the responsible 2A owners that give us the feedback of the gun, what they like, what they don't like. And then we kind of decide on moving forward. Now we have the CNCS, which is considered like a V3 line, which has an external extractor, our own 9mm mags. And so there's a slight change in that, and we actually discontinued that recently, if people follow that outside of the California zone. Mm-hmm. Because it came to a point of, do we want to continue this line, or do we want to make everything the way that it needs to be, right? And so that's what we kind of decided on HD.
And where that's super valid, when before Gunner took over social media, we were working on it, even when we first started together, I think I was the guy that dropped Staccato, right? You weren't here yet?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, so it was right when the old guy, Chris, left and Gunner came in. We had a gap in there, and I was filling in. And some of the comments I saw were, well, we got a Staccato finally, but it's not a real 2011, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, people need to understand that there's evolution, right? Just like in anything, the guns keep getting better. You make changes for a reason. And it's true. When you start seeing you guys sunset older models, you can see that you guys really are going a new direction based on a lot of user input. I'm sure a lot of testing and things like that.
Oh yeah, we test all of these, and I was personally involved in testing a lot of these. And let me tell you, we break them until we can't break them anymore, and then we say, okay, that's good enough. So trust me, if anybody's shooting these things, I mean, it's a tool, right? It's made out of metal. It's fallible. Things will break. Things don't always fit correctly, and there's things that we miss. But that's part of why you buy into this ecosystem. You guys have had, as a dealer, to deal with this, and I'm sure there's people that own these things that may or may not have had a problem. Our return rate's like massively low, but our customer experience team at Factory is world class. Mm-hmm. The people over there, the leadership over there is just fantastic, and taking care of the people that might have a question or an issue with something that they've had. And that's really like part of, I kind of encourages like the dealership aspect of these things. When you buy a nice car and you go get your oil changed, it's a massively different experience than when you buy an inexpensive car, right? They take care of your car, they wash it, they fix things that might not have been identified as broken, and they just do it because it's the right thing. So people have sent in their guns and, hey, I'm having a problem with this. Can you guys take a look at it? We'll take a look at it, identify other problems, and then just fix it and send it back. And then they get a report of what all the things that we changed. And, we've replaced grips, we've replaced screws, we've replaced whole pieces of things that, under inspection when we get it back, just needs to get changed. And I think that's really part of what people, maybe they understand, maybe they don't, but it's not like you're going to call a call center and get a phone tree and get an answering machine and get somebody that's outside. You're calling somebody in Texas that's going to answer your phone call or your email or chat you online while you're on the website. That's a human that really actually cares about taking care of you and making sure that your experience around these firearms is as best as it can be. Because nobody wants to spend a lot of money on something that they're going to have like a hard time trying to fix.
There's nothing worse than you call someone or you think you're going to get a human, you get like AI bot, and you're like, man, what the heck? Like, that makes me pissed.
Yeah.
So Texas, right? Texas and Vegas for locations. Yeah, because I know you mentioned Texas, but correct. Texas and Vegas, right?
Yeah, so Factory's at Florence, and it's in Florence, Texas, about an hour north of Austin. Okay. And if you guys are listening, you guys just happen to be in the area, call customer experience, go by there. We have tours regularly, and so we're open. Not only is there a ranch there that you can go shoot and do all kinds of tons of experiences, from helicopter flights to clay sports shooting at night to some of the tournaments that we have. Being a member at the ranch, it's beautiful. I mean, we have steer and all kinds of animals. And if you guys have seen the National SWAT Comp, if we're talking about Vegas separately, Staccato Vegas has, set up for military units that are elite, SWAT teams, and we come out there and everything's just kind of set up to make you a better shooter and enjoy shooting, right? Shooting sports should be enjoyed with each other. It should be enjoyed with your family. You shouldn't have to, go to the, not that this is a bad thing, but you shouldn't have to go down to BLM land and set up some cans or a water heater on the side. If that's your thing, by all means, go ahead. But you should always also have a place where you can go out there and ask somebody some questions and get information about new products that are coming out and be able to kind of interact with us. And for us as a company, like that's part of being involved in that. And it's the whole, I guess, ecosystem of what we do is we don't want to just sell you a firearm. We want to partner with you and stand next to you guys as dealers and next to the consumers that are purchasing these things, are responsible firearm owners. And if you have rifles, come shoot them. You got shotguns, come shoot them. We don't care if you're shooting different kinds of pistols. All guns are good. Obviously, I'd love for you guys to be into staccatos, but at the same time, like we understand, like, I think it was funny. I'll tell you a quick story that back probably when you were walking around SHOT Show that year, while we're in the booth, because like I said, I was working with Staccato before I worked for Staccato, and we would have all these people come by the booth and they would always tell us like, oh, I carry such and such gun. Sell me on a Staccato. And I'm like, my job's not to sell you on a Staccato. I'll explain to you why it's a great tool for you to use. And I go, well, I use this gun and I point it that way and I pull the trigger, it goes bang and the bullet goes that way. Great. Like, I just want you to be good at whatever you are good at, right? And whatever you need to be good at, I encourage that. My job is not to make you purchase one of these things or tell you it's better in the sense for you than some other thing. I want you to be confident when that time comes that you might need to use this thing if you're a responsible gun owner, using this to protect yourself or somebody else. God forbid something happens. But, it's a support thing of the United States, a support thing of our industry. It's a support thing of each other. And I do want you to be as accurate as possible. So if you want to learn about it, then that's one thing I'll be able to help educate you. But at the same time, I'm not here to convince somebody why it's better than something else. Like that's not why we're here.
So since Gunnar brought it up, let's talk about Staccato Ranch for a minute. Where exactly is that located? Is that outside of Vegas?
Yeah, so we have Staccato Vegas, which is going to be in Pahrump. That's about 40-minute drive from Vegas proper. About 550 acres out there, and you have anything from long range. You can shoot up to a mile out there. You have short range pistol. You have also it's kind of like a setup of a cityscape in a sense. What we did for Vegas. So I encourage anybody that's listening to go to Staccato Vegas Instagram and check out some of that footage that we have from the SWAT comp from last year with our partners. A lot of the events out there are available to members now. It is open to the public in a sense that you can come out there and shoot and do all those things. But both membership-based places are Staccato Vegas and the ranch in Texas. So if you're a member at one, you're a member at both. And those memberships vary depending on, what you want to do. We even have experiences where we can take you in one of the side-by-sides and you can go shoot all these different targets while you're on the move. Again, running in a canyon and shooting targets, steel targets and stuff. There's so much to do out there. I mean, we could probably have a whole episode on just what you can do with both Vegas and Texas. So.
But as far as accessibility, so the public has certain days they can have access, or
no, you could pay for like a day of shooting.
Oh, okay, and it's just like a typical range. You can get out there and
I wouldn't say it's a typical range,
but you can shoot whatever you're doing. You can show up there. It's not just classes. It's a
correct
open rifle and pistol range.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But obviously on a huge level, from what I understand.
Correct, and then you can pay for different experiences if you wanted different experiences, and depending on your level of membership with those things, you might get some of those things like invited to this, training thing with Max Michel or with Michelle Viscuzzi or our Staccato training team, which Max kind of leads over there. And so all these things kind of coincide with that, where if you just come in as a general public, you might not get the invite to go to these kinds of events.
Gotcha.
So, and even with SHOT Show, so SHOT Show Range Day, for example, if you're a member at either one of those places, then you can have access to do other things that other people wouldn't. It's kind of like an exclusive thing.
And people can buy memberships.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not like they have to be on a waiting list or have someone recommend them like some ranges do. They can literally walk in, shoot a few times, and be like, hey, I want to be a member.
Yeah, everything that we so just for clarity's sake, I mean, obviously I work for the company, but I've been to a ton of ranges in my life, and I can't tell you two better ranges that I've been to that are more customer driven with the people that work there, having all the employees there and the leadership of both of those ranges being fantastic. The people that want to help you not only just improve in daily shooting on being proficient with what you have, but like are truly invested into you being a part of the community. And so having access to people like that whenever you want, and then again, depending on where you live, obviously, you could travel to Texas and go to either one if you're a member. And so there's, again, different levels of membership for both of those things. Go to staccato2011.com and then check those out. And then we have it all on the website for you guys to check out.
Cool.
Man, looks like we got to make a trip out there, Mike.
Yeah. I need to check it out.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Let me know.
Helicopters.
We'll set it up. Yeah.
Perfect.
Too easy.
So let's get into the guns a little bit, really the details. You know, a lot of guys don't know, I think, what a 2011 style gun is. You know, they're used to the guns they own or have shot before, but why don't you walk us through the I think the biggest part of it is the grip frame thing, right?
Oh, for the are you saying change between, let's say, a legacy gun and like an HD?
Yeah. Like some of that, the details on how those guns are made.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go into details of production. That would be industry.
No, but like by design. So, for example, with the different models out, we can walk through them, but they have people say the frame, but it's really a grip.
Correct.
And then there's a frame, right?
Correct.
And certain models have a steel frame, certain models have an alloy frame.
Correct.
By design.
Yep.
The compact models, you guys gravitate towards aluminum.
Yeah. So anything that's going to have a C in front of it will have an aluminum frame. Okay. So you have an HD C 3.6 aluminum frame, HD C4X aluminum frame. So anything that will have a C on there should delineate or denote that it has an aluminum frame for those. Again, kind of keep in mind that the traditional or the legacy models that we have were built for a purpose. We tried to engineer these things, and our engineers are like top-notch, world-class dudes. And moving from that and saying, okay, how do we make this better? We don't want to have a ton of SKUs. You know, we don't want to make 50,000 guns for everybody. We want to make the best guns possible for everybody that wants these guns. And so we're always kind of looking at that and what's best for that. Moving to HD from the legacy models, again, certain of the V3 models, the C and CS, again, have been discontinued, but we still manufacture all of the V2 or legacy models, depending on how you want to say that. But some of the change with HD is removal of the backstrap safety. We still keep the exact same grip angle of the 1911 grip angle that everybody has. We get a lot of questions of that, of saying, well, the grip angle changed. Well, it has not changed. And they're like, well, maybe. And I'm like, listen, we make these guns. Okay, the grip angle has not changed. They're still the same. And so trying to convince people that, I think what that is the grip safety on some of the legacy guns might make it feel a little bit different than what it is on an HD. Actually, with an HD, because the removal of the grip safety, we're able to get the hand a little bit higher into the bore axis of the gun. Some of the things that you can obviously see right out of the gate is just going to be the frame's a little bit wider, right? So we have to be able to accept the Glock pattern mags that we are using for here. Mechar makes our mags for that, and all these Glock pattern mags, because and people have the question of why this mag over that mag? Why don't you make your own mags or anything? And I just kind of reiterate to people, we're all hard pressed in the firearms industry of people that just enjoy firearms to find a reliable mag. That's very important to all of us. And obviously we tie into the law enforcement side of everything, and using a Glock pattern mag, it's a very reliable style mag. It's readily available, affordable mag. People already have, especially in California from Freedom Week, a ton of all the mags that they already have. And so it just kind of makes sense. Mechar now makes a massively reliable magazine. It's beautiful that they make, and it's metal. And so another question that we kind of get asked, and I can clear that up, is does the mag catch and the mag kind of chop one or the other up? Because some people say, well, you have a metal mag catch and then you have a plastic. If you're going to use a Glock style mag in there, does it chew up that Glock mag? And the answer is no, right? So the interior, if you pull them apart, the interior of these mag catches are rolled, and so it doesn't chew that up. So you won't have that issue ever. I mean, we put hundreds of thousands of rounds at this point through any HD models using all types of magazines, not only that Mechar specific, but we try to use everything. No issues. Another big change with HD, obviously the frame's got to be a little bit wider, but an ambidextrous slide stop lever, right? So now instead of having a right hand only model and then you'd have to get a different slide stop lever or a change or anything like that, some aftermarket accessories, now everything's kind of coming from us, from the factory, able to. And outside the California version, or the state compliant models, what we call them, the mag catches are reversible. So if you have a regular one, and even if you have a state compliant model online, if you go to the Staccato website, you can buy a left-handed mag catch from Staccato direct. And so those are some of the bigger changes. I would say even another big change that people might not be aware of, or if they might have questions about, is our plate mounting system. So some of our like legacy guns have a plate mounting system where the plate mounts directly to the slide. And then on top of that plate, then you're going to mount your optic. And so your optic would actually mount to the plate, which the plate mounts to the gun, right? So you might have a couple of different levels of failure points, right? And so the HD does not have that. The HD is basically like a sandwich or a washer style plate, where the plate is the buffer between the optic and the actual slide. So your optic will mount through the plate directly to the slide. So you're reducing the failure points on that.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for watching the show. We want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Trijicon. So sit tight for 1 second. We'll get back to the podcast.
So additionally, there's two, like for RMRs or RMR SRO. If you see, I have two here. Am I allowed to?
Yeah,
Do your thing.
Okay, cool. So safe guns, obviously. Thank you. So a couple different things with this is the sight, the rear sight is now moved to the front of the optic here, and that's basically to make it so that we could push the optic all the way to the back. And if we could push the optic closer to the human eye, then it leaves less distraction for the human eye to kind of pick up. As you can see, I'm going to change this gun real quick. Is there a best camera for me to kind of point this at
Right
to
here.
make sure?
Put it on this one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So if you take a P, for example, and you have the rear sight back here, if you're looking at the gun and you're looking through the optic, you have to really train yourself to bypass the rear sight, because your eyes are going to want to see whatever's in front of you. And a lot of us that have shot iron sights prior to red dot sights are so trained to line up the sights that it's almost second nature for that to be something that we kind of catch. We have to catch ourselves doing, right? And so being able to move that to the front of the optic really takes that away from one less thing for us to do. And like I said before, the less input you have to put into these firearms, the easier it is for you to shoot, the more accurate you become. So removing this kind of places it here for every single gun. So depending on which gun you had for the legacy model, you had a different rear sight, or it was in a different place, or it was just mounted a little bit differently. Now for HD, all the rear sights are all in the same place. And so you have this one, which is an RMR, and I'm going to pick this one up next to it, which is an RMR HD. And if you guys can see the difference, I'm not sure, maybe we'll have to get you guys a couple different clips, but the RMR HD is pushed to the rear a little bit more. If you guys see that it has an overhang for that optic, how I call it a little snorkel on the optic, how it has this overhang on the front. A little bit different than, let's just say, an RMR that doesn't have an overhang on the front of the optic. So you can actually move the RMR a little bit forward. So the RMR HDs and the SRO mount is moved backwards. So depending on what optic you purchase, you'll just need to get that plate. And the Trijicon specifically have an RMR and an RMR HD / SRO plate. So there's just two different plates for the RMR. So just make sure that if you guys are buying this, make sure you're getting the correct plate for the RMR or RMR HD. It just sets it back. Now, the RMR, if you're using an RMR, you can use an RMR on either plate. But if you're using an HD or an SRO, the problem is that overhang of the front of that optic will tag the back of that rear sight. And then, for law enforcement guys that are listening, you can use that rear sight as something that kind of protects your optic. It's just a one more barrier in between, the ejection port and potentially, your optic to get failed on. So if I show this XC here, if you could see how the SRO kind of overhangs slightly over the ejection port here, depending on what kind of ammo you're using, or if you're a competition shooter or what have you. If you're shooting, obviously duty rounds, not an issue, because this gun's going to be cycling like a wet pig. But if you're using lighter loads or anything like that, the type of casing and how it's going to come out might get in the way of that. And so we identified that and then changed it with HD. So
I got a question then, because I heard it pop up when I was at SHOT Show. There was a person there walking around asking one of your guys' associates, but what if there's somebody that's like, I absolutely do not want to use a red dot. I don't believe in red dots.
Cool.
Is there really that much of a difference with you guys moving that rear sight up? Is there anything that they can cater to? Because I know some people would probably prefer that rear sight being in the back if they're not using an optic no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, everything's a use case, right? And so that's kind of like what we kind of talked about prior to hopping on this thing is these are all tools, and I need a tool for a specific job, and depending on what that is, that's how I need to make this tool. All the guns that we manufacture are red dot ready, and the reason why that is because for law enforcement, most concealed carry and most sport shooting, they carry red dots, and so that's just the age of it is. I'm not stopping somebody from not putting a red dot on there. Obviously, they come with plates that cover that. Right now, we don't make a rear plate that has a rear sight and then a rear sight delete on that. And so it's just kind of the way the industry is, in a sense of we make things for the people that use the guns. And I mean, how many people do you know that buy guns that don't have red dots on them right now?
Only my dad. He's old school like that. He's an old Glock guy. That's why.
Well, even still, one of the great things about red dot shooting, and not to transition from guns to instructing, but as we get older, our eyesight gets worse, right? And using a red dot actually allows you to be able to see the target a lot easier than shooting with iron sights. And so encourage your father, take him out there with some of the cool guns you have, hopefully a Staccato, and teach him how to shoot on a red dot. And I'm sure that he'll find that it'll be a little bit easier. Even if he's a Glock guy, put a red dot on there and then see what he thinks of it, because you shooting with both eyes open instead of just one eye closed kind of thing, it is a difference, and it does help. And so you see those aging police officers, those aging people that start using red dot, regardless of, hopefully it's a Trijicon on a Staccato, but if they're not, then it still helps them in those senses.
Yeah, we had that conversation too.
Yeah.
I think he just shot a red dot, like the first time was probably like 4 or 5 months ago.
There you go.
And he was like, oh, this is trippy, but I come from like archery background, so like using sights and pins, like that's pretty standard. So
yeah, that's cool.
No, the dots just help. I always have people too. Like a lot of my buddies who want to get into guns are like, when they think of red dot, they're like, oh, like Call of Duty or this or that. Yeah. I'm like, no, man, like it's like you said, it's a tool, and it's going to help you shoot better and more efficiently too.
And I would ask those same people, I would say, well, do you own a rifle? Is it iron sight? Do you go hunting with an iron sight rifle? And if anybody says, well, no, why would I do that? Well, just translate that to a pistol. You have massively reliable optics these days that we can use. Why not use a tool that's going to make me better at that? I mean,
I think people are afraid of the transition. I know a lot of us shoot 3-gun and started 3-gun here years ago, and when we first started shooting with California, there wasn't a lot of red dot options. So we a lot of us even that have custom guns, we could have had red dots, but for like our company events, we have 800 employees that we wanted to let participate. And at that time, they didn't have easy access to optic guns. So we all started shooting iron sights for a long time. And now we've transitioned, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. What I see that I get really excited about, because I've been in the retail side of it for so many years, is the new shooter aspect. It's amazing. It's kind of like what we saw in archery, going from the old days of shooting fingers and pins and old technology to the new stuff with taking a pistol now with a red dot on it and a little bit of training and people, their ability to shoot. I mean, it's massively greater.
Yeah. And it all kind of falls back. And I think people are starting to realize this. And, you start getting into the minutia. Back when I was young and maybe Gunner, you probably don't know about this, but book reports, Mike, you and I know, but book reports, you'd have to read a book and you would have to find out, I'm going to do it on the Hoover Dam. And so where do you go? You don't go to the internet because there is no internet. You got to go to an encyclopedia, right? Mm-hmm. And now what we have is access to information immediately, any information that we want. And that makes us smarter and better, hopefully, right? It's a whole nother conversation, I'm sure. But we have access to all these things, and not being able to translate that to the firearms community, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. And so why wouldn't we want to find out where we're deficit in shooting sports and make that better, like to your point of archery? You become better at something easier. Not only is that more fun, but now it's repeatable, and now it's translatable to, service of others, safety of yourself and your community, and all these things. And so it kind of comes to okay, so now what do I want to do, right? Do I want to get something inexpensive and kind of build it up? Do I want to support US? Do I want to, buy something that's nicer? What's my task and purpose? And so finding out all these things kind of goes into the education that I like to make sure that we're all doing to the community to make sure they buy the right thing. Because maybe they don't want to buy a Staccato, but I'm okay with them buying, another firearm so that they can be good at those things. And maybe one day they'll want to be part of the community of Staccato and come get what we have. And so it's just, I think that part is we have to be able to understand that I can only get so good with this tool. And if I want to be better, I got to go find a better tool or a better way to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think once we start training ourselves and getting better, then we start plateauing, and then we have to change our tools. No different than a diesel mechanics working with, Harbor Freight tools. No offense to Harbor Freight. If you're a sponsor of the show, I have your tools. I love them. But those tools have a lifespan, right? You only can use them for so long, but you buy them with the expectation that I need this tool once or twice, and then I don't need this anymore. And so when you purchase those firearms, that what you're going to get out of it is going to be of quality. And so we're always trying to figure out the accuracy portion. How do we make this gun more accurate and reliable? And then now what? Where's the failure point in our mechanics now? And so we took away a lot of the thinking points of how to make these guns while thinking accurate. And so we removed that. So we enhanced the human performance aspect of using that. And then now what, right? And so we get into the kind of the conversation of how accurate is your ammunition that you're using? And that's usually a conversation that people don't think of. Well, says 9mm on the back, and I just point it that way and I pull the trigger, it goes bang, like it's pretty accurate. Well, test it, go put it on and put your gun on a rest or a bench or something like that and test it and see if you can put your gun and your sights on the same spot. Why do you think that this ammunition now is missing, right? Or the gun, let's say you use really high quality ammunition. The gun is only so mechanically accurate. And so we try to maximize that with our firearms. And then we started doing that with our ammunition as well. And so now you're able to take the high quality firearm that you would use, and then now you're using a high quality ammunition. And then that accuracy that might look like you're not a great shooter because you're using, let's say, subpar ammunition. And now you're able to tailor that and actually be more accurate, easier to shoot, with better ammunition and a pistol combined. So I would encourage your guys' listeners to not just trust that it's, ball ammo is ball ammo. Well, to a certain extent, yes, correct. But at the same time, you don't put pump gas into a Ferrari, right? Sure. You got to put nice gas in that. And so just look at that, right? I'm not saying trust everything that I say. I'm just go educate yourself on all those things and make sure that that's doing right. So a quick plug we make our own ammunition, right? 124 grain and then a 136 open tip match. And both of them are sub-inch accurate at 25 yards over 20 rounds on a rest. And go try it, right? Buy a box and from Turner's, a couple boxes from Turner's, right? And try it out yourself and see how you feel about it. And then let us know.
Yeah, I got to shoot it at SHOT Show. I was very impressed with it too.
Yeah, so thank you.
No issues with it at all. And you know how that is, Mike. It's 6 bays of shooting. Yeah. That's a lot of shooting.
Yeah,
zero issues.
We're pretty tired at the end of the SHOT Show range day.
Yeah. Sorry, not SHOT Show. Our Top Shot.
Yeah,
our Top Shot.
That was a good time
too.
Yeah,
you guys donated the ammo, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate my boss for allowing me to donate that to you guys. And you guys, again, are such a great partner. And so we really appreciate the relationship that we have with you guys and having your guys' employees be able to shoot our ammunition, if not for anything, but just, again, education. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but maybe you just didn't know about it. And I think that's where our ammunition is. Like, we just need to continue to educate people on there is a difference in ammunition, and you kind of pay for what you get, and just don't go in there looking for the least expensive ammunition. There is quality ammunition, and you don't have to pay out the nose to get it. So
I think especially in PCCs is where you notice it too.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
When we started shooting, 9mm rifles, we started seeing the accuracy gap in that, bigger deviation ammo.
Big
Like,
time.
it's the ball ammo, like 9mm factory ball ammo that's price point isn't made to be super accurate. It's meant to function, right?
And they have huge lots too,
Mhm.
right? These lots
Yeah.
are like million round lots. Our lots are like 50,000.
So you're going to see any kind of inconsistency there. When you start shooting rifle distances, you're going to start seeing that big spread and speed and things like that, and point of impact. So I'd imagine I hadn't even thought of that yet. I'd want to get out there and shoot some of the Staccato ammo through my.
Our match ammo out of a PCC is subsonic, and so even with for the Freedom States, suppressors love that ammunition, whether it's a pistol or a rifle suppressor. But use the match ammo. Try that with your PCC.
All right.
You'll love it. It's
I'll check it
fantastic.
out.
Yeah.
Well, Gunnar, do you have any questions from the
Oh yeah.
Turner's Nation out there?
Yeah. So obviously, there's a lot of questions. We do our Wednesday Q&A. I'm not sure if you've seen that at all, but we go on Instagram, let our
well done.
our followers hash out all their questions that they got. One of the big ones, though, I would say is they're asking for CCW opportunities. Is there one that you'd recommend over the C3.6 versus the C4X?
I mean, I wouldn't recommend either. I recommend both, kind of thing. Again, I think we kind of touched on it. Is these are all tools, and not everybody's going to want them. The first thing I'll say is go try them out. Go try them both out. Obviously, the similarities between the two, the frame, the slide, are very, very similar. The C4X obviously has a comp on it. That's going to be the difference. Some people like a comp, some people don't like a comp. A little bit about that comp. It is part of the barrel. That's why we can have it in California, is because it's all one piece. So it's all one piece of steel that's milled for that barrel. So that barrel is not like a press together. It's not a thread on piece. It's all made for that. And then as we build these guns, the slide, the barrel, and the frame all go through production all at the same time. So they're all fit together to be one piece. They're not like Lego kits where you could just put this slide on top of this frame, on top of this thing. That's why it's very difficult. Because, it might work, it might detonate. Like, I wouldn't recommend changing that whatsoever unless you're going to send it back to factory for some sort of maintenance. So, if you want a good concealment gun that doesn't have a comp, the C3.6 is massively accurate. I love the way it shoots. I'm more of a C4X. When I was on duty and I worked, I carried an XC. Why is that? For a little bit of that is I want the best gun I can carry in order to be proficient at that time. And I'm used to shooting with a comp. If your listeners are listening and they haven't shot indoors with a comp, put double hearing protection in, go indoors and shoot with a comped gun, whether it be ours or any other comped guns, and you'll understand the difference between a comped gun and a non-comped gun. But a little bit, depending on the frame of the human, what the purpose of that carry is. I always have this is going to sound a little bit bougie of me. I hate to be that guy, but carry for the way that you dress and dress for the way that you carry, kind of thing. Think of it that way. Have options for different types of things that you're doing. Obviously, if you're carrying a firearm, which is a very big deal, right? And you're not carrying it because it's cool. You're carrying it for worst case scenario. And so be proficient at whatever you're carrying and then dress around that. I'll start with that, right? And then if you have multiple of those things, then you can start worrying about what fits with what outfit or whatever, if you wanted to get all bougie. But be confident, whatever that is. I like both of those guns. I don't think you can go wrong with either.
Yeah. I want to really reiterate and drive the fact home, because we do get the question every week. So for all of our followers, but there is a big difference when it comes to the barrel and the port on the C4X versus the P4. And that's why when we look at it, trying to follow YouTube guidelines, but when we look at it, there is another big difference, right? It's because it's strategic what you guys do with the C4X. It's not like how you said you guys just put the compensator on there and kind of Legos it together. That's why we have a lot of customers or followers, and they're like, well, why is this here and why is the C4X up here?
Oh, okay.
There's a big difference.
So
right?
What I'll say to people is it's easier to explain like this. If I make something really big, like a battleship or an aircraft carrier, it's gigantic, fairly easy to make. But what if I told you needed to make an aircraft carrier half the size and make it still do the same thing and have the same amount of capabilities that the larger one has? You're going to think to yourself, this sounds pretty difficult. Engineering wise, we're making a gun that shouldn't be able to do what it does in a smaller capacity. So that takes time, money, and engineering time, and then research and development. And then we have to be able to do that well, right? We're not just going to build something that like doesn't work, right? In theory, right? So we're going to test it out, and we're going to break it, and we're going to figure out where it's weak, and then we're going to rebuild it better. So it's harder to make something small in that regard. Now, it is less expensive, let's say, than an XC, but it is more expensive than anything else. And if you look at the differences in the range of those, something that is, let's say, a legacy gun, the range of cost there is a similar thing, right? And so it's trust me, it's truly harder to build something smaller that does something well. And these guns are both developed to do different things, right? Similar things, but a little bit different. And again, don't take my word for it. Go out there to Turner's, just got some range guns ordered in both of these models, and go try it out yourself. Again, I could tell you all the things in the world. I'm not one to sell something that we shouldn't be selling. Go out there, shoot these things, go find a friend that has them, shoot these things, shoot them next to whatever you want to shoot them next to. And then I think you'll develop your understanding of why these things cost what they cost. Again, you're supporting the U.S. start to finish with everything that you have here. And they truly do perform to the value of what they are. So I don't know if that kind of...
I don't think you could have said it any better, because obviously when I try to explain it, I'm bringing up the right facts, but it shows to our customers, at least for me too, is the confidence that you guys have in your products. And it's one thing to hear it from Turner's, but it's another thing to hear it from Staccato. So I think that just speaks volume too. And I mean, the guns or the tools, however you want to put it, they just work, and you get exactly what you're investing into. Yeah. But
and it is very important for us to make sure that we are able to provide these tools to people in California. I know that we get sometimes a little bit of pushback one way or another. I think it's silly, double-edged sword of people that say, well, you should bring everything to California. Okay, cool. We'll make guns for California because that's what we want. It's easier to do with HD. It's series 80. It's drop safe as opposed to a series 70 gun and the legacy guns. So now they'll pass all the testing required to get into California, right? And then people are like, oh, you bent the knee to California, and why would you do that? And it's like, man, we're just trying to do the right thing. And so that's, again, comes back to the way that we are as a company. We want everybody to do well with what they have. And being able to provide a tool, we're so lucky to be able to provide a tool to those people in California, because it's important to us to make sure that everybody has these things in case they need them, and have something that's reliable and an option. To your point of, I mean, we've talked in the past of having companies that, I'm going to put this over here and it's going to be available here, and then it's never available, or it's been, years and then it becomes available. We try to get it as close to we can as releasing it to everybody at the same time, because it's important to us.
Yeah. Well, you ready to wrap this thing up? I think we hammer that thing out. I mean,
you got all the questions? You got
Annie answered a couple of them too without me even asking them, but I also want to highlight for all the listeners right now, if you have not already, make sure you like and subscribe. We are having a 10,000 subscriber giveaway with some range day necessities. So, you got a Staccato. You're going to need targets. We got some bags, duffel bags, eyes, ears, all that stuff. So shout out to Mike for putting that together. Helped me out with that. But
hopefully we can get there.
Yeah, we're almost there. We're at like 8,500 right now. Gone up about 1,500 in the last week. So
well done.
Yeah, we're almost at that 10K mark. But I'm sure this podcast will definitely help that too. We always see a big surge after podcasts. So
hopefully we'll see what we can do. I mean, you guys are great. So it'll just be a matter of time, is what I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we really appreciate the partnership with Staccato. We appreciate having the new guns to sell. Everyone's really excited about, watching what comes next. I'm sure there's more in the pipeline. We'll be excited to see down the road. But I know we're still chasing these quite a bit. I know you guys are. To kind of talk, one last thing is a lot goes into building these guns. You know, a lot of people come in and they go, oh, I've seen people comment when we drop something new, and you get 95% of the people that are super excited and want to come in and look at the new gun or buy one. And you get those guys like you mentioned. They're like, "Oh, like, who's gonna mortgage my house to buy that new gun?" You get those guys, but you got to understand, like, a lot goes into these, and that's why they're not just stamping these things out like a $300 pistol. It's not to it's a huge part that it's made in America. It's made in Texas, American components, but it's also a tremendous amount of work to get these things the way they are.
Yeah, and to that point, it's not like we had a blueprint to build off of and say, oh yeah, well, this company already makes something like that. We'll just make it similar. Not to say that our legacy line, because lots of companies are making that style of firearms now, right? Like our 2011s. But that's kind of flattering for us, right? Because it allows people to come into the market that maybe aren't ready to purchase a Staccato, or they're not familiar with the brand. And so they'll buy, a brand that they're familiar with, and then they'll be open to, oh, I didn't know that this was here, or I want something a little bit better, or what have you. That's important to us. So regardless, go out there, get a gun. If you want a gun, hopefully it's ours. But yeah, to your point, Americans made the steel that we use. I can walk you to the foundry and take some pictures of the foundry that we get our steel from, and our aluminum from, and our plastic from. And Americans build these guns, so we're not paying somebody overseas to make some subpar product or anything like that. We're legitimately start to finish American made and American built. We're very proud of that, and we don't cut corners. And like you said, good ain't cheap, and cheap ain't good is what I kind of said, and what my grandpappy told me. But it's very important to us to make sure that we highlight the people that build these guns are superior individuals. They're very great at what they do. Our production people they're the smartest people I know, and they do a great job. And I think that's kind of what we get at this is the fruits of their labor are people like us that are very happy users of these items. And then, if God forbid there is an issue ever, our customer service team is great people. Let's say you want to go shooting, right? You have the ranch in Texas or Staccato, Vegas that you can go shoot, or you need ammunition because, there's a scare of ammunition going on. We make ammunition. And so we're truly trying to support our whole community of people that are responsible gun owners and giving them the best things that they can get, because the best always, it's kind of a pride thing that we want to make sure that we are providing something to people of quality. And, I told Buck, I said, as soon as we start making like terrible things, I'm out, man. So,
and I think people really need to go out there. It'll be neat to have these in the stores, in our range stores like Palm Desert, where customers can go out in Bakersfield and shoot them. Because everyone I've talked to, they may kind of scratch their head at the price, but once you get out on the range and you pull the trigger, it's like
it's very different thing.
Very eye opening. And then people will say, I've seen it, a lot of times they go, okay,
it's the difference.
Now I know why that's that price.
It's the difference. And it's not because of that. It's because of, go shoot it next to whatever you want to shoot it next to. That's what I always like. I'm not a salesman, by trade. I'm an educator, and I'm here to get people the information that they need, your guys' subscribers, to say, listen, like, this might not be for everybody, but for people that want to support the right things, do the right things, be a little bit better, use the right kind of tools, take a look, go shoot it, go educate yourself on these things and be a pro, and tell your friends. And, I'm sure somebody will listen, and somebody probably already has these things around. Law enforcement officers have plenty. And so, we're approved at over 1,600 agencies throughout the United States. There's agencies down here in Southern California where we're at. My agency, we use them. And so there's tons of other agencies that use these currently and swear by them and use them to protect the lives of themselves or others. I mean, we see videos of that, unfortunately, occurring all the time. And so we're just proud to be a part of the whole community, and you guys help us continue that from manufacturing to the consumer. And so we could do these later. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of questions that we might have from this episode. So put your guys' questions below, and we'll come back and we'll do this again in a little bit, and then we'll probably set it up, and we could do Christmas. I can wear an ugly Christmas sweater or something like that. and then we can go over some more gun stuff. So
Excellent. Well, we can't thank you enough for coming in. We really appreciate it.
thank you
Taking
for
the
having
time.
me. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. That's a wrap, everybody. We'll catch you next time.